need dragons or power!
So after the last time we visited Eric Hovind and our good friends at the Creation Today show, it was quite boring, and upon my request, we got this magnificent piece of shit where Eric goes back to bastardizing science and spews logical fallacies and stupidity and flat-out lies like he used to, and it was a great return. It was entertaining for me to watch, but I thought I should respond to it in a different way, so maybe you, the people, might actually learn something. So it's not going to be my usual direct response with sarcastic comments and clip jokes, but more of an educational sort of video, explaining, using examples of why the term kind is, well, stupid, and explains everything by explaining, well, nothing. And here's how Eric Hovind explains kind.
The animals that were originally able to reproduce when God created them.
Congratulations, your idiot license is good for another year.
Ooh. So today we're going to be looking at tyrannosaurs, both the later versions and the body plan attributed to them, and the early basal forms that, well, creationists would probably ignore being tyrannosaurs and maybe just list them as some other clade of dinosaurs, even though that's not right, and all evidence points to otherwise. So, let's get started. Tyrannosaurs first appeared in the mid-Jurassic period around 160 million years ago, and they didn't really look like the tyrannosaurs we're all familiar with the large head and tiny forelimbs, but instead looked like raptors or early basal carnosaurs. In fact, I've seen some creationists say that early tyrannosaurs like Guanlong, the oldest known tyrannosaur, was indeed a carnosaur, even though its tooth and hip or configuration was more like that of T-Rex than any carnosaur. In fact, we once thought that tyrannosaurs were carnosaurs because their skulls were similar to that of carnosaurs, but in fact they're not carnosaurs, but coelurosaurs. Now, creationists will concede that tyrannosaurs such as T-Rex, Gorgosaurus, Albertosaurus, Daspletosaurus, and Tarbosaurus were indeed the same kind, but that they were different to Eotyrannus, Guanlong, and Dilong, which of course isn't true at all because they were the same kind even according to the creationist definition of kind.
Classification, but broadly speaking it is normally approximately the same level as the family level.
Straight from the horse's mouth, at the family level, and Guanlong and T-Rex belong to the family of Tyrannosauridia, but we'll get back to that at a later point. Now, what exactly caused this drastic redesign in the body plan? Well, we don't really know the exact cause, but there is one hypothesis that I think could explain it, well, at least for now, until more evidence is found. That is the coevolution alongside ceratopsians. Ever since the early Cretaceous, Tyrannosaurs and ceratopsians locked in evolutionary arms race. This is evident in the various elaborate frills of ceratopsians, though their history stems back farther than the Cretaceous, all the way to the late Jurassic with Guanlong and Yinlong. So, their history with one another definitely may have played a big role in Tyrannosaur and even ceratopsian evolution. One other factor was the extinction of the large carnosaurs, leaving the ecological niche of top predator in North America and Eurasia to the next biggest thing, which was, at that time in the mid-Cretaceous, Tyrannosaurs. Whatever the case may be, this is all just speculation. In fact, we may never know what truly caused them to go through such a drastic change. There are many factors when it comes to such a change. But you may be asking yourself, what the fuck is the point of talking about tyrannosaurs if this is a response to a creationist video? Well, if kind is at the family level, according to creationist definition, then creationists would have to accept that small, agile, gracile, swift-running, dromaeosaurian-like animals went through a very drastic change of reducing 4 limbs, loss of a digit, adapting larger heads, stronger jaws, and more specialized teeth for crushing through bone. Or in layman's terms, a very macro change in a single kind. Because in order to get from this to this, there ain't no small variation within a kind, you gotta go big variation. And it's none more apparent than in Tyrannosaurs. So if I were to present this information to any creationist, would it be a surprise to anyone that they would probably just shift the goalpost to a higher taxonomic level, or just flat out dismiss it? Would it really be a surprise to anyone that they would do something as dishonest as that? I didn't think so.
Going from one kind of animal to a new kind of animal, that would be considered evolution, which we have no evidence for at all.
Of course, what Eric is referring to is just something completely fucking absurd, like a Triceratops giving birth to a Theriznosaur, which we know, anyone knows that cannot nor will not happen, and that's just a fallacious straw man. Eric knows that, because evolution cannot and will not permit one fundamentally different kind of animal to turn into something completely different. Now, you can have incredible variation within a single clade or a single family that looks like one kind of animal turning into a completely different kind of animal, but in actuality, all it is speciation. The bottom line is, that's really all evolution boils down to. Species adapting and changing with their environment until new species come along, etc., etc., etc. I hope you enjoyed this video, and Eric, go fuck yourself.